y'all, and welcome to the Crazy Sock Lady YouTube channel. My name is Kay, and this is my channel where I share all about my crafting adventures, usually very heavy on the knitting. Today we have a mix of knitting and crochet because this is a Scrappy Sunday chat. Welcome. It has been quite a while since I have done one of these. So very long. I love doing them. I've missed doing them. I've missed my Scrappy projects. I feel like I have not worked on them very much, and I'm trying to get back to that. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yes, it's been so long. And I've had so many people, when I ask what are things that maybe you guys would like to see, Scrappy Sunday Chats is always something y'all want to see come back to the channel. So here we are today. I have my notebook here with some notes on all of the projects that I have. I even went through my Ravelry project pages, got all of the start dates for them so we could kind of look at all of them and see when they were started and how long they've been on my needles. So maybe you're new here and you're like, what is Scrappy Sunday? Maybe you have, you didn't watch back when I used to do the Scrappy Sunday chats. If not, and you want to catch up on past Scrappy Sunday chats, I will link that playlist right up here. I think that only works if you're on your mobile device or iPad or something like that. But yeah, I will have that linked. You can head over to the playlist page as well and see all of the Scrappy Sunday chats that I've done in the past. So Scrappy Sunday, I love Scrappy projects. It's a fun way to use up your scrap yarn, stuff you have left over, or mini skeins, or if you do a swap with friends for scraps. It's just such a fun way to use up all of that yarn that it's like you finish a project and it's like, what am I going to do with it? Do a Scrappy project. And they are some of my favorite projects to work on. Some of my favorite finished objects that I have are from using scraps. So Scrappy Sundays started because they kind of tend to get pushed to the back burner for me. It's not something that I pick up. They're usually blankets. A lot of the things I do, sometimes socks, but usually blankets. And it's not something that it's like, all right, I have started this blanket, I'm going to work on it all the time until it's done. That's usually not how it goes. Sometimes with one of them in particular that we'll talk about, my Cozy Memories blanket, I only put leftovers in there. So, you may not always have a ton of yarn to, pull from to work on. So they tend to be long-term projects. And for me, they tend to get pushed to the back burner. So I started doing Scrappy Sunday. Make sure if you're ever on Instagram, you use the hashtag Scrappy Sunday and join in. Just as a day to kind of pull out, and they'll be my main focus. They may not be all that I work on. If we go somewhere, I'm not taking my blanket. I usually take a pair of socks, and then sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I'm just feeling socks today, and I'll work on socks. But it's a fun way to kind of make them have their own day, and they're gonna get even just a little bit of work on that day. So that's how it all started. I try to post mostly every Sunday what I am working on that day, and it might change from week to week. I've kind of been doing a little bit of a method right now with the project, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, I'm excited to be back to doing the Scrappy Sunday chats, working on my Scrappy Sunday projects more. It's been very nice. Little sip of coffee. I've got my coffee here this morning. This is a mug that was I have two. I have one that has a green bottom, and then this one, they were my Nanny and Papa's. So I love that I have these. I always remember them having their morning coffee out of those mugs. Okay, so I did not mention, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as The Crazy Sock Lady. I will have links right down below this video for everywhere that you can find me. There will also be links to my Ravelry project pages. Everything that I'm going to show you has a Ravelry project page. If you're not familiar with those, it's a great resource for me to be able to use so that you guys have all the details on my projects. It'll have, if there's patterns or tutorials, links will all be there. It tells you the yarn I've used, the hook size or needle size I'm using, any notes or modifications I've made to maybe how many I cast on, or anything like that. So it's a great way for me to have all that information there for you in case I forget to mention something, or you would just rather go look there than maybe having to watch the video back to find out something. So it's a great resource. So I mentioned that my Scrappy Sunday projects had not had that much attention, and then I've been trying to I have a little method going right now for working on one of them in particular, and that is this granny square blanket that is right back here. It is folded double, so it's pretty big. I'll pull it up here and show you, but I kind of trailed off with working on any Scrappy projects last year. I had an online shop, if you're not aware, and it just took up a lot of time and brain space, and I would end up being just frazzled sometimes that it was like I couldn't focus to work on anything. Mostly socks is all that got, you know, worked on, and it just ate up a lot of time and space in my brain. So Scrappy Sunday projects did not get worked on very much at all. You'll see that by the start dates when we go through them and the progress that they do not have on them. So I am getting back to my Scrappy Sundays, to my Scrappy projects, to just working on what makes me happy. With the shop, it was just so much like I need to knit up this colorway or that colorway, or any spare time I have, I need to be working on content for this or that. And it just, I don't know if you guys can hear my dishwasher just kicked off. It plays a little song to let me know that it's done. But yes, so I'm just getting back to working on what brings me joy. And that is 100% includes my Scrappy projects. So this is the first one we'll talk about. I started this on July 28th of 2022. And this is a crochet project. I have 3 crochet projects today. 3 crochet and only 2 knit. So for this one, I am using up my row 1 mini skeins. Let me show you the blanket first, and then we'll talk more about yarn, hook size, all the things. But let me see if I can stand back here. I'm not going to be able to get it all in the screen. It is very big. Let's see if I can come back here. That's a little better. So, I mean, it's a big blanket. Right now, it is, how many squares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across this way and 5 up that way. So I think it'll probably end up, it'll be 6 down, 5 across, I think. I mean, that's a good size blanket if I'm gonna sit here in my chair. Needs to be a little bit longer, and then I could actually possibly be done with this. So yeah, I guess I haven't really sat here to do it and see like the size of it, but that's enough for me. I don't know, do I want to do one more row on the sides down and one more across the top? That's not that many. That's a couple weeks of work probably, because I'm working on it throughout the week. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, this is pretty big. I love this so much. So I was a crocheter before I was a knitter. So it's fun for me to get to go back to what I started with and work on that for a bit. Yarn. I am using row 1 minis. So row 1, if you watch the podcast, you've heard me talk about that. It is a mini skein subscription service. And it's a different yarn dyer each month. Let me pull one out here. I had this has gotten so big it doesn't fit in this bag anymore, but I did have this in a bag from Bags by Awesome Granny. Now I just have the yarn in here because the blanket will not fit. So row 1 mini skeins, they come in a package like this. They are 10 gram minis, and I am holding them double. So I've had a lot of people get confused when I say that. I'm holding, sorry, it's really loud. So they come like this. And when you take this off, this is a label that tells you the yarn dyer and the colorway name. When you take it off, you can easily find the outside. Sometimes it does take a little bit of looking inside of here, but you can find the inside very easy. So I just pull that inside and outside like that and work from it holding the same color double. I'm not grabbing 2 minis and holding it double. I do the same color. until it is gone. And that's what I'm doing. There's no rhyme or reason. I just grab a bag of row 1 because I've been getting them for quite a while. I've used them in some projects here and there, socks and things, but never really focused on working through them. And that's what I'm trying to do with this blanket, which I may have to start another one too because I still have quite a bit to go through. But yeah, so I work them up. This is one right here that does not have the border. This was from this bag. They are very bright. This is Teal Torch Knits, or who these minis are by. It's for sure getting blown out a bit. That's better right there. Like, it is super, super bright. So I just go around until it's gone. And if I, like this green right here was the last color I added here, and then what was left, I started this square with. So I do 9 rounds, and I have a tutorial linked. It is a photo tutorial, but if you go on YouTube, you're gonna find a ton of tutorials for granny squares. So I have that photo tutorial linked in my Ravelry project page. I do 9 rounds, and then on the 10th round, I'm joining. I'm doing a join as you go, and I also have a tutorial linked for that. That one is a video tutorial. So the gray is the 10th round, and I join as I go with that round. For the joining, I'm using Knit Picks Swish DK in the Dove Heather color. My hook, I've got one square. Oh, they're falling off. That's okay. Got one started here. I am using a 4mm Tulip Atimo hook. They are my absolute favorite crochet hooks. I do have them linked in my Amazon storefront, and the link is below this video for that. So I love these. They have a nice cushion. I love the point on them. They're great. And the squares, I've had some people ask how big my squares are. They're 8 by 8. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever you want. I just kept going with the rounds until I thought it looked big enough. And then that just ended up being 9 rounds, and then the 10th round is what I joined with the gray. So I have another granny square blanket going as well. Which bag is that in? It's in this one. This is a bag that was gifted to me. It says Stitch in Pink on the inside. I do not know if she ever had a shop or if she still has one, if she did. If so, I will link it below, but I'm not sure on that. So I'm using the same size crochet hook for this, same tutorials. Everything is the same. I'm just using different yarn. I am using up some Homespun House. Oh my gosh, I have a ton. Oh no, I thought these were squares that had not been added. No, they're not. Never mind. So I have been using up Homespun House leftovers and then mini skeins for this one. I do not have as much done on it. But I'm doing it the exact same, holding them double in the same way. 9 rounds, 10th round I join with the Knit Pick Swish DK Dove Heather. So everything is the exact same. This one I started, oh, I didn't write when I started it. Let me pull up my project page for this. I started it after the row 1, I believe. Yes, I started the row 1 granny square on July 28th, and I started the Homespun House on August 15th. So right now, I didn't even talk about that. What I've been trying to do to focus a bit more on a project, it's been this one, and I have been working on this, trying to for 30 minutes a day. There are days I don't have a chance to pick it up and do those 30 minutes, but I'm really trying to do at least 30 minutes a day on this blanket at the moment and get it done because it goes so quick. I am a very fast crocheter. It goes very quick, and it's DK weight, so the thicker yarn goes even quicker. So I'm really trying to focus on at least getting one done, because that's when I feel like I can. I have the minis, I have, you know, all the row 1 minis and all of that. So 30 minutes a day is what I'm trying to do with this. Maybe by next month's Scrappy Sunday chat, it will be done. We'll see. So this one, I have a decent amount of Homespun House minis and yarns and all of that as well. So I am really trying to focus on just using up as much as I can. A lot of these are leftovers from 2021's advent calendar in December. That might be what all of these are. Do I have? Yeah, that might be what all of these are. And that might be why I have kind of stalled on working on it, because I need to pull out, it's been a while since I picked it up, but that might be what it was I had used up all of the advent yarn, because there's no yarn in here. This is the last square that I was working on. So I do have, like I said, a ton of mini skeins, a ton of leftovers of Homespun House where I've worked with it over the years. So I need to start pulling those and setting them aside, because I think when I'm done with this, that'll be my next thing I focus on, is this one, until I use up all of the Homespun House mini skeins, yarns, all that I have. We'll see. Something else may grab my attention, but we will see. All right, so the next one is my Cozy Memories blanket. I have this in a bag by Fat Squirrel. And it's so big, and there's like nothing in it. I should have put the granny square one in here, but it's okay. It's so big, I don't really take it anywhere else to work on right now. So my Cozy Memories blanket, I started in May of 2020, May 24th of 2020. This is the second one that I've done. I will put some pictures up here of the first one that I completed. And I love it. I feel like it's such a heirloom type piece, and it is so, so beautiful. I did an I-cord border on it. I do have a tutorial for how to do the border. It is, I just absolutely love it. So I, with this one, use up just scraps. I don't add anything else to this blanket that is not from a project that I have finished. And I think that makes it even more special and even more of an heirloom piece, because it's something that if my kids, you know, are ever interested in having it, they can look back on it and be like, my mom made projects from every single one of these yarns in this blanket. It just makes it so much more special. So this one is not that big. This is the one that is really a long-term project. It really is. I have so many scraps where I have not worked on this in so long. I have so many scraps that I could grab from right now to add into this, and maybe I will do that, but I don't know. I may just like pick up from now and we'll see. But this one I have right in the center here, these yarns. They're from my very first sock tutorials that I did on YouTube for the very first summer sock camp. So that's fun that it's like the center of the blanket. The pattern that I follow is the Coziest Memory by Kemper Ray. I believe that is a free pattern. And I work them from, there's like a center point here. So they just have you do rows, the pattern does. I started and they're all working out. And that sounds confusing and doesn't make sense until you do it. You just have to do it. And then you're like, okay, now I work it like across this way. And like, it just makes sense once you do it. Let's see, what else about this? I'm using a US 1.5 2.5 millimeter. I have my signature Needle Arts straight needles. These are definitely like super special, but it's a super special project. So I love using these for that. I have the stiletto point. I can't remember what the end is called. It's like the spiral end. And then it is the shortest straight needles that you can get from them, is what I use. I will have them linked down below. I love their straights, love their DPNs. So the squares that I'm doing smaller than what the pattern says to do. That's what I did on my last one too. These are the same size squares. I'm doing 40 stitches total. So it is 20 by 20. And I just love the size that that gives me for the squares. So I have been getting back to finishing a project and then immediately adding that color in. Did I mark the ones that I did? I did this one. That is Your Mean One by Arcane Fiberworks. I did socks for Eric out of that. And then I finished up a new sock design using Moonglow Yarn Co. Vintage Valentine sock set. So I added in the main color from that. So I've added 2 in. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you haven't worked on a project for ages, that's a good start to get back to it. Let's see. I also have my granny stripe blanket. I have this in a bag from, I think this is the Scrappy thread. And I did have 2 granny stripe blankets. I talked about the other one a while back and had so many recommendations for what I should do with that blanket, but ultimately I just did what I wanted to do, and I gave it to Dexter and Gracie, my 2 little dogs, and they love it. They cuddle up with it and they absolutely love it, and I was not loving it, so I moved on and let it go. So this one I chained 300 stitches. I'm using a 2.5 millimeter hook. And I started this on July 12th of 2020, so it's been going for a while. It is very big. Oh, I have it upside down. It's very big. And I love working on it. I just, again, like just stopped working on scrappy things. I have a huge magic knot ball. I will link my tutorial for doing a magic knot. It is great for joining your yarns and keeping them together. This huge magic knot ball that is attached. That's what I'm currently working from. And these are just scraps, leftovers, minis, anything and everything is what's in that ball and what's going in here. I actually have another magic knot cake that I can use after that, so I need to work on that some. I think that's it for that. These are the Cozy Memories and the Granny Stripe are both fingering weight held single. I do not have a written pattern for the Granny Stripe, but I do have a tutorial linked in my project page. All right, the last one is my Jelly Roll blanket. This is a pattern by Kay Jones, and I started this March 12th of 2022. I'm using the same size Signature Needle Arts, US 1.5, 2.5 millimeter, straight needles. And this is again, fingering weight held single. I do not have a ton left on this, or done on this, I have a lot left. I do not have a ton done. This is just scraps from friends. I did a knitting weekend when I started this. I was with friends and we swapped scraps to start scrappy blankets. So this is the one I'm currently working on. I love using, so I have stitch holders here on 2 of these so that you don't have to complete one huge long strip. You can work a little bit, then stop and start another strip, and it just makes it more fun, I think, instead of doing huge long strips. You are joining these as you go. So, and that's the same with the Cozy Memories. You're picking up stitches and joining as you go. You're not having to seam anything together because I hate seaming. So, yes, I would not be doing this if I had to seam them at all. So that's that. I just have a ton of scraps in this bag. This is by Mountain State Stitches. And that's all of my Scrappy projects. That's them. So I hope that you enjoyed a little bit of a catch up here. Let me know below if you are working on any Scrappy projects, what ones you're enjoying right now, and if you're gonna be joining me for a Scrappy Sunday. Or you can do it, you don't have to be on Instagram, but if you're on Instagram, use the hashtag Scrappy Sunday, because I love looking through and getting inspired and seeing all of your Scrappy projects that you guys are working on every Sunday and throughout. I've been working on this throughout. All right, so I was recording and my battery died and I don't have backups for this camera that I was using. So you're getting a little bit of a phone wrap up here, but thank you guys for joining me. Let me know what you're working on with your Scrappy projects. And I will see you guys again next month in February for a check-in on all of my Scrappy projects. Until then, remember to work on what brings you joy and happy making. Bye.